Welcome to our Common Sense channel. Today's topic is, why was racism invented? Now, Devin Morgan is a writer and researcher. Two of his books are Demystifying Cancer, Exposing the Deception of the No Cure for Cancer, and the World Common Sense Challenges. They are available on Amazon, Barnes& Noble, or directly using the email in the description. Greetings, Brother Devon.
Greetings, Brother.
Let us start with the obvious question. Why was racism invented?
Okay, how about we let our greatest scholar on the subject give a brief answer?
The crest theory was an attempt back in the late 1960s to explain what I thought is it is a crest theory of color confrontation and racism, white supremacy. An attempt to, as a psychiatrist, as a black psychiatrist, to understand, well, what exactly is this thing that we call racism, white supremacy? Looking at why do white people behave in the way that they do. You see, in concluding that it has to do, number one, with their minority status on the planet, their genetic recessive status, in that they could experience genetic annihilation, in that the overwhelming majority of people on the planet are black, brown, red, and yellow, and whites constitute fewer than 1/10 of the people on the planet.
So what should we learn from this video?
Well, number of things. Whites are less than 10% of the world's population, contrary to popular perception. This makes them a minority. They are genetically recessive, meaning white mixed with black produces black. They could be genetically wiped out wiped out with prolonged mixing of the races. This is a fear that drives their hostility towards non-white people because they want to preserve their power base. And this hostility is especially aimed at us because we have the most powerful genes to replace them.
So why is this subject still necessary to deal with?
Racism caused so much destruction, and yet a lot of us still don't understand it and have never studied Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. Listen to this sister lament her lack of understanding of the subject.
What exactly did black people ever do? Like, I'm genuinely asking, what did we ever do to deserve anti-blackness in every single community? We were brought over here in chains. We were beat, raped, and murdered. We fought for our freedom just to end up with Jim Crow and segregation and being lynched by the KKK. We were segregated into our own communities, then denied jobs, denied funding for our schools. You kill our black men, then make fun of us for not having fathers. You dehumanize and demonize and kill our black women, and nobody bats an eye. What exactly did black people do? What exactly did we do?
I think we can extend her location of the practice of racism to every country, including those regarded as people of color, including China, Japan, and other Asian countries.
Yeah, considering how long racism has been going on, it's a bit shameful that any of us don't understand the driving force behind it.
So do you think we should all be experts on the reason for racism?
Absolutely, we should. We should all be experts. It can be a matter of life and death. Sorry. How can we defend against ourselves against something that we don't understand? However, the most disturbing part of this is not that most of us don't understand it. The disturbing part is that most of us tend to avoid any deep analysis of the subject. I've lost track of how many times I've tried to engage people with this subject and get very little response. I have shared videos of Dr. Francis Cress Welsing over many years, and I'm still waiting to have a discussion on this with anybody. This is like telling someone that some people are trying to kill them, and their response is they haven't got the time to investigate it.
So, what makes you conclude that most of us don't analyze it deeply?
Well, this is I think this is a logical assumption. If we did, we would have the answers and we would be passing them down from generation to generation. Similar to how the Jews talk about their Holocaust and band together and it benefit them. If we had this understanding, we would be working on protecting ourselves against it. But at best, what have we got? A few anti-discrimination laws that have been passed. This was no help to George Floyd and many others. There is a psychological aspect to racism that no law can protect us against as well. Anyway.
So, do you think most people accept Dr. Welsh's theory of the root cause of racism?
Well, perhaps not, but for those who don't, perhaps they will accept it from quote unquote the horse's mouth. Here's two videos we're going to share now about these men talking about why what their views are on the whole race issue.
Godfather of the European Union, Richard Coudenhove-Kalergi, published the plan for a united Europe and the ethnocide of the peoples of Europe. The encouragement of mass non-white immigration was central to the plot. Since then, an unholy alliance of leftists, capitalists and Zionist supremacists has schemed to promote immigration and miscegenation with the deliberate aim of breeding us out of existence in our own homelands. As indigenous resistance to this human genetic modification industry grows, the criminal elite seeks new ways to camouflage their project. First, their immigrant pawns were temporary guest workers. Then it was a multiracial experiment. Then they were refugees. Then the answer to a shrinking population. Different excuses, different lies. And asylum is just another one. But the real aim stays the same. The biggest genocide in human history. The final solution of the Christian European problem. This crime demands a new set of Nuremberg trials, and you people will be in the dock.
At the numbers involved and the fact that we are going to become a minority in our own country before 2050, well before 2050 for the younger people, that I term to be genocide. And I'm backed up again by the United Nations definition on genocide, which quite specifically says, in the present convention, genocide means any of the acts committed with intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethical, racial or religious group, and deliberately inflicting on that group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part. Now, go to any city centre, which is inundated with the third world. You will not see any white people in Tower Hamlets. You won't see white people in all parts of Luton, parts of Leicester, all across the country, because they have been driven out. They have lost their right to exist as a culture and a race in their own country.
What should our audience get from these videos?
They are expressing their fear of being genetically wiped out. It's very obvious if you listen to them carefully. And that means they are confirming what Dr. Wilson is claiming. Race and Islam is mentioned, and genocide. Now, religion cannot wipe them out, so they're not talking that religion is just a smoke screen to the whole thing about color. What can wipe them out is prolonged mixing. They speak like our mere existence is a threat, but we are powerless people. They have all the power, which makes their fear pointless if you look at it in those direct way. There is no mention of us attacking, oppressing, or harming them in any way. Combine this with our lack of power, the fear has to be about genetics. What does he expect the government to do to protect them, as one of the speakers mentioned? They can't help to force them to have more babies. And he's talking about the fear of the numbers of these people keep multiplying, right? The answer they expect is to reduce the number of non-white people, and we are their number one target. We have the greatest amount of melanin.
We definitely do.
Now, their oppressive system is on more open display in America, but it's a global system. Here's a video that captures their strategy of keeping themselves on top. Um, that our audience need to study and understand this video. So let's play this video for our audience.
Definitely started at a disadvantage, and we need to find a way to compete.
Yeah, the solution is always the same. We cannot reinvent the wheel. We need to develop a strong culture. No people have been successful on this planet without a strong culture. I challenge anyone to point me at people that are succeeding who do not have a strong culture. Culture provides a set of rules of how people can solve their problems.
Well, that's all, folks. So until next time, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and leave a comment.
Yes, help us to grow this channel by subscribing and liking the video and leaving a comment or ask a question if you so wish. And I will see you next week.